Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Layer by Layer, the show about 3D printing and our place inside the industry. Today, we're going to be talking about the $2.6 billion 3D printing industry no one's talking about, Red Wolf Technologies, and 3D printed Pickle Ball. And then lastly, does print in store actually work? Discussion topic of the day. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and pay the bills. Today's episode is brought to you by TangledFilament.com. Tangled Filament is our attempt to drop the cost of filament down to $10 per spool. We're doing that by optimizing mass production and creating all kinds of new unique business models in order to reduce the cost. Right now you can get a hold of pure PLA NGO 4043 for $15 a spool, down from $22 just 6 months ago. You can have any color you want so long as it's black. So go ahead and check out tangledfilament.com. All right, moving into the news now. All right. So, with the news, first of all, the first piece of news, 3D Fuel separates from Nexa 3D. All right. So 3D Fuel is a US-based filament manufacturer. I think about a year and a half or 2 years ago, they were acquired by Essentium in order to become kind of the consumer filament component of that company. But then Essentium was purchased by Nexa 3D after the IPO fell through. But now 3D Fuel has been spun off from Nexa and is currently revamping. I'll have more information about this next week because actually I'm going to try to talk to John Schneider, the CEO of 3D Fuel, here in the next day or so. So I might have an update on that, and maybe we can do some kind of collab with Tangled and the rest of it all. But it's interesting, but it's not. Well, it's interesting in a number of ways because 3D Fuel had shut down their operations in North Dakota, South Dakota, one of the Dakotas, and they had moved down to Austin to do all production of the materials down there in Austin. But for them to now be spun off, I don't know how the filament's going to get made because it was all made with Essentium machines, and Essentium's Austin location is effectively being shut down. So it's all kinds of different stuff. Interesting dynamic inside of the more local 3D printing market. 3D Fuel has made PCTG, number of different PLAs, a lot of different colors, and they've been a reliable source of multicolored filament here inside the States. But just scuttlebutt around the industry, as they say. Next piece of news, $2.6 billion AM market for consumer products is driven by end-user applications. So this was a research report that came out on Voxel Matters. Basically a projection that in 10 years, consumer products will be about $28 billion of the 3D printing industry, and these are final end-use parts. Not right now, the 3D printing industry, much of the revenue and much of the market is in selling the machines and materials to service providers, but there's expected to be a switch, which we also agree with, that the actual end-use parts will become a bigger part of the market, and the machines become more of an enabler to that, and the parts become a greater value than the machine market itself. Which is not that surprising. That's kind of like saying right now the vast majority of the injection molding industry is selling the injection molding machines, when as today the value of injection molding is the fact that it makes your shoe into CD case and all the rest. CD case. Bunch of plastic stuff that actually has the real value. But yes, it's currently $2.6 billion. It's expected to grow up to $28 billion. The overall revenue for AM and consumer products market is projected to grow, achieving a compounded annual growth rate of 26.8%. The significant assessment covers the entire value chain of AM across all consumer product segments, including the revenue represents only a small overall consumer products market. Despite this substantial growth, the projected $28.2 billion in revenue represents only a small fraction of the overall consumer products market, which generates trillions of dollars annually. This conservative and accurate forecast, it's 10 years away. If anybody ever says a 10-year away forecast is accurate, sorry. I'm sorry, Voxel Matters. Got to call you on that. That's not, nope. Highlights that while consumer products are a major vertical for AM, the AM industry as a whole is on track to reach 100 to 200 billion in revenue by the mid-2030s. So their expectation is that the AM market will predominantly still be dominated by machinery and the like, and only final end-use consumer products like desktop organizers and that kind of stuff will only be $28 billion, 1/10 of the product market within 10 years. That part I wildly disagree with. That's just incorrect. For what I said a moment ago, that's like saying that injection molding, the machinery would continue to be worth more than the iPhones that it's cranking out or the shoes that it's cranking out, whatever it happens to be. So that's just, no, I don't agree with that at all. But right now, all of the data is being provided by 3D printing guys. So 3D printing guys are going to say, well, right now, most of our revenue is from buying and selling machines, and we're selling individual parts to people. But the actual, and then people I sell a $100 million machine over here, and then there's an Etsy store that does $10,000 a year. And that ratio is going to continue. That's just wrong. The machines are an enabling technology for making final parts, and the final parts will very soon outstrip it. I'd be interested to see if, in the context of this analysis, if they actually included dental inside of it currently, because I'm pretty sure the dental aligner market value is substantial, if not even larger than like current 3D printing industry overall. And 3D printing is an enabling technology over there. All right, coming up on the next one now, Red Wolf Technologies has signed an agreement with Motorola Mobility in order to produce approved Motorola fixin' tools inside of repair places. Red Wolf Technologies has been working to put printers inside of repair shops, and those printers would print cases, spare parts, and now tools for fixing phones and that kind of stuff. This is, the guys reached out to me. This was a press release brought directly to us. So you're welcome, guys, and thank you, and all the exchanges. This is the first time that I've kind of revisited or relooked at the concept of 3D printer in store. And this was tried a bunch back in the early 2010s in order to see, people don't want it in their home. They don't know how to operate it, but they're a semi-technical group inside of a phone repair shop. So you can print off some phone cases that are cool and custom there, and you can do the rest of this. We'll talk more about this in the discussion topic, but I'm glad somebody's trying this again. They're basically operating on the presumption that Bamboo Lab have created a machine that is reliable enough and fast enough that you can do this inside a store. I wish them the best. They've actually worked with a number of repair shop chains that they're actively have deals with, so they're gonna make a go of it, and they're gonna get a shot at it. But there's issues with the model that we'll discuss more in discussion. But it's news. Red Wolf Technologies is making a go of it. They're putting machines in all these repair shops, and they've got a deal with Motorola in order to make the actual tools and jigs for repairing these. So rather than having to go purchase some fancy tool and jig, you can just print it out right there, fix the phone, and then move from there. 3D printed Pickle Ball. Okay. Pickle Ball. Excel Digital Solutions, a 3D printing startup in Walker, Michigan, has developed a quieter pickleball to address noise complaints from neighborhoods near public courts. The co-founders, Brandon and Tyler, designed the ball to emit a soft, low-decibel click instead of the typical loud pop. Noise complaints have led to pickleball closures in several areas. And the ball, 3D printed from a thermoplastic elastomer, is softer and more flexible than traditional injection molded or roto-molded balls. This design reduces the noise level while maintaining necessary performance characteristics. Testing by Pickleball Sound Mitigation confirmed that the ball produces a quieter click, closer to a tennis ball's thump, and provides adequate sensory feedback for players. The startup's new product is available to order on their website at $30 per ball. Go buy a ball. Is now taking orders for a quiet pickleball. This is, I picked this story myself because I wanted to bring this up. Because number one, the ball only costs $30, which is very reasonable. The ball is 3D printed, and the ball is solving a problem in a cool way. Because it's generally, I'm going to say probably, from the look of them all, they look like a geometrical problem. Everybody's been printing the basketballs and all this other crap and that kind of stuff as a gimmick on social media, but these are actually functionally useful. They solve a problem, they improve on the existing item, and 3D printing is enabling this improvement. And this is also an item. an item in a very popular sport category. So this is great, and I hope these guys blow up. So I'm pushing them on the podcast because they should. This is fantastic. We got to get a hold of one of these balls. Ooh, we need to get a hold of one of these balls. This is a real 3D printed products video, guys. Yeah, we got to get a hold of one of these. But the Pickle Ball, most people don't really realize just how large Pickle Ball is. Here in Boise, it's only just kind of started to spread here, but just how large Pickle Ball is. The fact that they're making something that keeps it from getting banned is neat. And I think that's a great problem solution situation. The one comment that I would have is I don't think it's that big of a problem, and I have no idea what an existing pickleball ball costs. I assume it's probably like $5 or $10, if even that, somewhere in the tennis ball range. So $30 for the ball is expensive. But if it's that versus have the thing shut down, $30 is the cost of a movie ticket to go do something, and you get to use it theoretically forever. Balls don't really wear out that much. And again, if they're 3D printed, it's not like they're hollow and they'll split in half. I mean, I think that's a great thing to do. So yeah, go get some. This is, yeah, that's the whole thing. I don't have much else to add. Seems like a good solution using the technology. Seems affordable. Works well inside business model. It's not egregious. It's not a $3,000 freaking basketball BS thing. It's an actual real ball, and it's small, so it can be produced. It can be produced in volume. I hope they move a mess of them. The one issue I have is that, guys, I'll make a recommendation to you. This came up in the 3D printing trade press, and that's good for a start, but I hope you have a follow-up in Pickle Ball today or whatever it was. Otherwise, you're not going to get any sales. I'm sorry. Like, I have a reasonable amount of internal knowledge about the amount of conversion from 3D printing press for 3D printed products. The 3D printed press, we all talk about the 3D printed products because the eyeballs want to come see this topic. But if you're trying to sell a pickleball, the 3D printing press is not the place to do it, because everybody here has a printer, and therefore they're not going to want to buy your pickleball. The comment down below is going to be, "Where's the STL file?" And yeah. I can print that for however much in TPU and all the other stuff. So yeah, there's not a great appreciation for products. And to everybody watching, I apologize, but this is true. Okay, next piece of news. The industry side. That's all for the news. Cool. Product updates. Tangled Filament Gray. I apologize. I sort of left people on a cliffhanger last week. Yeah, we've stopped Tangled Gray, the Tangled V7.7 Gray. We did the batch, we did the release, all the rest of it, and technically we sold out. So that was great, but the issue that we ran into is that it didn't quite hit the expectations and the velocity that we were looking for, and it didn't have the same dynamics and demand that we were hoping for. So in the context of Tangled, it's all about optimization. And to have gray and to have black, to spool them down with 3 kg and single kg, a data point, black is generally split between 3 kg and 1 kg fairly evenly. Gray was entirely 1 kg spools. And no one requested a 3 kg. To be fair, yes, we did not release a 3 kg spool, but the 1 kg spools were the vast out-requested demand option when we were testing it all. But anyhow, it did not hit the metrics that we were targeting around demand. So all it did was effectively create a slight increase, but it wasn't like, oh, we went for black, we were right here, and then we went to gray, we doubled our number of SKUs, and therefore we doubled revenue. That didn't happen, or that metric that we had inside of there didn't happen. We weren't looking for a double, but we were looking for a market increase. And there wasn't really a market increase. So we're killing gray for the time being until it's more operationally easy to have the multiple colors. Gray also has the colorant that the manufacturer sent to us has some weirdness in it, to where it was difficult to process. It was more effort than it was worth compared to black. So it wasn't really sustainable long term with this particular colorant. So we're going to keep on experimenting through and finding other versions of the gray that we're happy with giving to you guys, and are stable and easy to work with, because this light gray that we were using wasn't that much. Side note, hey, check it out. This is our first spoolless spool of filament. Yeah, here, dude, thumbnail pose right here. There we go. Our first spoolless spool of filament. This was a test. We got our spoolless filament winder in for Tangled. This was one of the first little test demo pieces that we did. We are doing cardboard core, and we're just refining overall like winding style. So this is a mess, but this is one of the first little demo winds that we did. Just feeling out the machine and getting the machine tuned up to where it needs to be, and then we'll actually refine the spool wind itself. This is, so that is coming down the pike. This is also a component of why we canceled gray. We can work on making gray better, or we can work on spoolless. And I would rather work on spoolless for black only, and that way we only have one variable to mess around with, rather than doing gray and black and spoolless and big and small and all the things. That diversification really hurts us. So for the time being, we killed gray. We're going to focus on black. We're going to play around with spoolless and try to get it there for y'all. Okay, so that is Tangled. Now, Shopify plugin. So we started building a Shopify plugin a little while back. Actually, last year is when we first started on it. But we have a Shopify plugin that will allow anyone to access our print farms, releasing here fairly soon. You can sign up over on the website. There is a public page available. It is exactly like the Etsy app, just rebuilt for Shopify. So anyone who has been standing around waiting for Shopify integration, you will, here in just a few weeks, be able to create a Shopify store that plugs into our print farm, and we will print, pack, and ship the parts to your customers for you. So you no longer have to run a print farm for your Shopify store. We think this is really exciting because, number one, Shopify has other people other than 3D printing fans in it. And again, we love you guys for all your support, but if we want to grow the industry and the company, we have to get to people who are not using 3D printing. And these plugins let people use printers without having to know anything about 3D printing. They can go find files and sell them up and figure out how to market them. So it's more business forward than it is technical forward. So the Shopify app will be coming out fairly soon. All the same functionality as Etsy, reskinned for Shopify. I say reskinned. It was not a reskinning job. The guys, the dev team did a really good job improving on the app itself, but also not as much translated from the Etsy plugin to the Shopify plugin as we thought, because Shopify just had wildly different rules and implementation systems than what we had even initially started messing around with last year. So that was all a shenanigan, but home stretch on that. We know we've had a couple of people reach out to us who are also developing Shopify apps. Here's the thing. I fully recommend that you continue doing that. And maybe this rings hollow, but like there needs to be competition in this. And who knows, we might shut the thing down in a week after we're done with it all. So I would say that more competition would be really great, because then, and especially if you're doing only the Shopify app, then you get to focus on it and create experiences and solutions that maybe we're not able to because we're busy with a bunch of stuff. We got the API, we got the print system, we got our Kraken system, all the stuff. So even if you guys see that we're building something that maybe you were thinking of building on, I still recommend building on the thing, especially if you have an angle on it that we're not thinking about. Right now, here's full disclosure, our Shopify plugin is exactly the same as the Etsy plugin. That's the whole thing. There's no secret there. That's the full products feature that's shipping right now. We don't have any other magic sauce. But no one else has released a Shopify app, so we wanted to get a Shopify app out there so other people could get a hold of it. So if you're doing it, I could recommend continuing to do it and figure out how to make it special. The things I could say that would make it special is file generation and search inside of it. We don't currently have that for anything. If you can create a component of it that writes descriptions based on the items there, so you can just plug into ChatGPT and help people that way, help people build a 3D printing store inside the Shopify plugin, and then use us to enable it. Like that's more than what we've got on roadmap right now for ours, because we're figuring out how to make our print farm plug into Shopify. From there, people have to carry on from that. So there's room for more applications. And in fact, if you're working within the applications, building a Shopify application that does generate 3D models based on a description or based on the photos that they feed back, all these things, there's so much stuff to do and so much opportunity by enabling people to create stuff better and then get the results. Okay. Etsy, our API. By this point, we will have done a couple of developer kind of meetings. In the discussion of Shopify, we're going to try to have myself and some of the team available for like web chats on a more regular basis so that developers using the API can get in contact with us about what we're doing and coordinating with us more closely than just this like 1 week podcast opening or update. That way, and we can also, quite frankly, my point of being there is to help steer people clear of the obvious mistakes that either we have made already or something else coming down the line. Like if you are building a Shopify app, talk to us. We will go full open about what the process of building a Shopify app was and the things that will get you. And we'll share all of that information because we think it's important that more people build this stuff. Fundamentally, all the ancillary applications that we build are in service to the main API. If we could just work on API, we would love to do that. But not enough people are building applications on top of it to where we feel the need to build some of those applications to set the example and to show what can be done. So yeah, we'll be doing more developer like remote conferences on or meetups on a fairly regular basis so that folks can just have a conversation with us. So the first one happened this last week on Thursday morning and night, so that we could catch as many people as we can. And then we went from there. Etsy. So the Etsy plugin is the Etsy plugin. You can plug in your Etsy store and use our print farm to produce parts for your Etsy store and ship them to the customer. The Etsy plugin, this is more of just an interesting fact. We have our current number of users and current number of listings on the Etsy plugin. And we were able to find a tool that gave us a good analysis of Etsy as a whole. And we are 1/1000th the size of what we could be as far as Etsy app usership. So we got a lot of room to grow over there, and we're really excited about that. Just an interesting piece of information. Conjur. Hang on, let me make one note here. 22. Conjur is our app where you take a picture and it creates an organizer from evaluating the image. We are playing around with it. We had really good feedback from you guys a couple weeks ago. We think it might be useful. If nothing else, it's just a 3D model generator. So we're playing through the methodology of how to fund the time and find the time to develop it and get out an MVP product of some sort with it. So there is that. Yeah, there's that. Conjur. All right. That's all the news. So, discussion topic, 3D printers in stores. So this was brought on by the Red Wolf Technologies deal, where they are printing iPhone cases and that kind of stuff inside of phone repair shops. Also, Travis over at Shop Nation had an Instagram post where he showed 3D print here in a UPS store. Interesting story about that. UPS was doing 3D printing 10 years ago. They were really early to the wagon. They ended up working with a company that went out of business to try to do warehouse where the shelves make the product inside of UPS centers. We thought we were going to draft off that, but that didn't go anywhere. If you work at UPS and you want to work with a print farm that will continue to exist, reach out. We'd love to. We'd love to put something inside of your facility at Louisville, Kentucky. So we're halfway to anywhere. So all of our Shopify plugin users and Etsy users can get stuff shipped faster and better. But side note, a lot of retailers and, well, a lot of companies appear to be revisiting the idea of printers in location to deliver parts. We've had clients who've tried this, that kind of stuff. And the question is, like, has the technology changed enough and improved enough to where this is now feasible when before it wasn't? Before it certainly wasn't, because someone would come into a UPS store, say, I want to print this part, and the part would print 8 hours later, and then that's next day. that's not any use to them. You might as well ship it if that's the case. With the consumer printers like Bamboo and the rest of them, that seems like it's a more feasible model now because something can be produced in like an hour or two. I'm not sure if that's fast enough. I'm not sure if the solution is enabled enough to do that. I think there's some version of it that probably will work. We've looked at retail multiple different times. We created a retail store 2 years ago and did a test over a week at a local mall. Like literally, like we created a pop-up store of 3D printed stuff to see how it interacted. And from that store, we kind of gameplayed it all out of what it would be, and it would be a freaking sick store. But there are issues with it because having full print on demand. The store is enabled in an interesting way by being close to a print farm, but just having printers inside of it, I'm not sure if that works. Because I'm not sure if 1 hour to print a part is fast enough. That's not materialization. It's 1 hour photo, but it's 1 hour photo I'm not sure would work in modern society. So there's that dynamic of, is it substantial enough of an improvement that it can work? And then from there, the other thing that came up was the economics of it and the training of it. The economics are fine. You can make a phone case for $10 off of a printer and sell it through and sell the files. But the expertise is still a component. Even using closed ecosystem materials where it's like Bamboo machine, Bamboo material, Bamboo slicer, pre-sliced files, there is maintenance, reliability, and expertise that's necessary with one of these machines. So I'm not sure how broad it can go. Inside the repair shops, I think it's a great idea. Because repair shops are very contained. You can collect data about what parts they need. You can work with like Motorola to get parts and pieces through. So there's value there. But it's challenging. And I'm not sure if it's evolved enough to where to still work in store. Because I kind of fundamentally look at store as, why don't all these stores have a machine shop in the back room? They could make their parts better. I'm like, well, it's expensive, it's effort, things got to keep working, you got to have it around, and the consumers don't necessarily know about it. There's also the argument of like retail. Am I going to go look for a phone case inside a phone repair shop, or am I going to go to Amazon? Or I'm going to use the case that I bought at Verizon when I picked that up. So I have concerns about the model. I think it certainly hits a ceiling just because of consumer behavior. Waiting 2 hours for anything will get beat by something that's faster. And even same-day delivery. You're competing against Amazon, which has same-day delivery on things like phone cases. And this has always been the problem with printers in the location. You're competing against shipping and prepared stuff, which has arguably been better in certain fashion. So I wouldn't hitch my horse to it, and this is why we've done print farms, because we believe that print farms will replace warehouses and will be able to print and ship a part in 2 days as if it was plucked from a warehouse. And even though that's slower than same-day delivery, there's enough value in it and enough scale inside of it that that it balances out. And we can continue to accelerate printing so that maybe one day we can get to same-day shipping. But even with the current state-of-the-art of desktop-sized machines, I'm not sure if desktop-sized machines inside of a store are as much of a value add now, or more of a value add now than they were 8 years ago when it was tried last. So I don't know. I'm glad everybody's doing the test and finding out, and I wish them all the best because I think it has merit. I think it has a market cap problem, but you don't need you don't need $1 billion market cap in order to create a really, really valuable company. So, and starting very small and specific lets you branch out from there, and you can decide what you want to do and what battles you want to fight. But so yeah, I'm not too worried about it all. All right, guys, that's it. Discuss down in the comments if you think print in store is a solution that you think will stick for the long term, and if it's different now than it was the last time everybody tried it. But beyond that, stay updated. Let us know if there's anything that you think we ought to be making, any sort of content or videos that you think we ought to be making, and have a great day, everybody.